Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including RWBY, which we'll be getting into today. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hey, y'all.
And Andy Potter.
Hey.
We're back to talk RWBY here at the Overly Animated Podcast. RWBY Volume 5 has premiered on Rooster Teeth yesterday, and we are getting into the first episode chapter today. Welcome to Haven. This is the start of our, once again, recurring regular RWBY coverage here at the Overly Animated Podcast. You can find us at overlyanimated.com or search for Overly Animated RWBY on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. You can subscribe to our RWBY specific iTunes feed. Don't mind the negative reviews there. More on that in a second. And you could also subscribe to us on YouTube if you're listening there. So we're getting into Welcome to Haven. We're very excited that RWBY's back, but at first, I have some warnings to give for our RWBY coverage. This applies to all RWBY podcasts coming up this season. And I did this last year and it was moderately successful. So I'm going to try this again. Please heed these warnings. If you are new and you don't know what you're getting into, I need to preface everything we're about to say with the following. And by hearing these warnings, you are consenting to that, this is what's going on here. Okay. So I don't say I didn't warn you. If you listen further, you need to understand that, that these three things apply. Number one. Okay. This is the most important thing, guys. We have a history of being very negative about RWBY. Delaney and I have covered the show for volumes 3 and 4, and at times we were not the biggest fans of those seasons. That's not to say that we are going to be inherently negative about the show. We are just an objectively critical podcast. So if there's a bad episode, we're going to say it's bad. If it's a good episode, we're going to say it's good. It is possible that you will not be able to handle that. Believe me, I have a lot of evidence that says that at least half of RWBY fans cannot handle that. It's not against RWBY fans in general. You know, there's a lot of different types, but, if you don't want to hear people being critical about RWBY, maybe it's your favorite show and you just want to hear people being happy about it. I understand. Just don't listen. You don't have to listen. And you should listen because we like the show. And this is another thing another preface I want to say. This is actually one of my favorite shows. You might not get the impression of that. But the only reason I care enough to criticize it is because I really care about this world and these characters. So we genuinely like the show. We will probably be negative about it, and you need to understand that going in. Okay. Number 2 is, we tend to analyze things from a socially progressive, slant. So if the very concept of hearing a feminist critique of RWBY enrages you, then you should probably not listen further. That is probably a lot of you, but it's not so we might not analyze anything from this slant on any given podcast. It's not like it's going to be incredibly pervasive throughout these discussions, but just be aware that we tend to analyze things there's not gay representation here. There's, this was a very sexist thing to do, where we'll say those types of things. If you can't handle that, then it might not be for you. And the number thing is more of a plea than a warning. Please be nice in the comment sections. This is the only podcast where I have to ask the show. But I actively encourage you to comment on any of our podcasts, including reviews, comments on YouTube, on our website. Just understand that I personally will be seeing every comment and likely responding to you. And, we are not a professional podcast. I see we're not that big. I see every comment, and, it will hurt me if you are mean. So,
don't hurt Dylan.
This is, seriously though, we over 50% of the negative comments we've ever gotten are for RWBY podcasts. So just chill a little bit. If you want to say I disagree with what you were saying, and here's why, and that's fine. Just don't say it in you guys are idiots. Just different. There's a difference between those two. Okay. So all of that being said, anything to add, Delaney?
I'm a woman, and if that bothers you, you should probably move on.
Yeah, I think that's slightly covered on the social progressive stance. But yeah, we'll have Delaney. Also, Haley might be joining us later. Yes, we'll have a female RWBY co-host here. But it was just Delaney and I for the previous seasons. We'll have some new voices here, some new perspectives. Andy's here today. Haley will be joining us later. So Maybe that'll shake things up on the Delaney, tend to be negative, dynamic about RWBY, but we'll see. But we're starting off today with Welcome to Haven, Volume 5, Chapter 1. Very excited, that this Volume 5 is finally here. 14 episodes this season, 2 more than normal. So it's gonna be a long run here, but let's get into this episode. Delaney, what are your thoughts on Welcome to Haven?
I didn't hate it. I mean, it was good. I think it was fine. I was a little lost at the beginning. It's been a while since Volume 4. I was really confused. This felt really, I don't know. It's not like, it was slow, but it wasn't slow in that I was like, is this ever going to end? Like, how much longer do I have to watch this? It was slow, but then it just didn't feel like a lot happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had our little snapshots, which I appreciate. I was like, I want to know where everybody is right now. I mean, I thought it was fine. There was not enough Blake, which is my usual critique of RWBY, is that there was not enough Blake, because she's my favorite character, and she's obviously the best.
Yeah, see last season for
yes.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was fine. I think we do some interesting things. Considering how slow last season was, I'm already kind of excited, because, look, we're somewhere. There is something happening. And we are posed to hopefully soon bring everyone together. We are finally having some direction, which, oh my god, if we had had this episode last season, like, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible. So I'm excited. I'm seeing some direction. I can see how maybe soon Team RWBY will be back together, because that's all I care about at this point. That's my only goal for this season, is for them to be back together.
Oh, don't start that already. It's gonna, Selene, don't hold your breath on that. This is going to be a long season.
I know, but it was, I mean, I thought it was fine. The new music's really great, and I enjoyed it. Like, I was, like, considering my low expectations, I think this was good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and this was a very long episode, relative to other
yeah. No,
episodes,
I was like, how long is this going to be? And I was like, oh my god, why is it half an hour?
Yeah, this is finale sized, but
it's like,
we at least checked in with everyone, right? So it was time well spent. We'll see. But okay, there you go. Andy, what are your thoughts on Welcome to Haven?
This episode, like, on its own as a unit, I really liked, which surprised me. I guess low expectations and all that, but the production is really improved this season. There was a lot of stuff that looked a lot better. I didn't like that we did like a slideshow when we saw Haven, but other than that, it was really a lot better looking than other seasons. That we got exposition, and exposition was done a lot better than in the past. I mean, there's some things I really didn't like that were specific, like really specific moments, and I really didn't like some things in the larger scheme of the plot. But this episode on its own was actually a lot better than I was expecting, and I liked it. I wish that we could do it without Crow talking as much and have RWBY a little more, but we did better than other episodes and other seasons in this episode.
Yeah. Co-sign on most things said here. I think
number one complaint, Crow, shut up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is not as much of a problem in this episode as others, with Crow just babbling on and on, but,
right.
Yeah, I think we might be on the right track here. I think Welcome to Haven is a decent episode of RWBY, and, if this episode aired last season, which I agree with Delaney, this is like one of my main things, this would have been one of the best episodes of the season. And, like, it also would have just alleviated a lot of the frustrations that we had. Like, we checked in on everyone in one episode. We had, like, not really progression, but, like, at least it was moving. And, also the biggest thing I think is that this was like an exposition heavy episode with which this show really struggles with. And I think this was one of the best, ones they've done. We don't really introduce new concepts. We kind of just tie things that we'd infuriatingly introduced randomly together, which I think really worked. We had a really long exposition scene that took out most of the episode, and I thought it was completely fine. It's like very different from the show normally. So I enjoyed and appreciated that, and I think we're really trending in the right direction there. I agree with Andy. I think this was, again, one of the best looking episodes the show's done, which is always what we say. Like, despite the fact that we have some problems with maybe narrative and characterization, the production quality of the show has just kept going up. I personally actually really enjoyed the slideshow in the beginning, so we can discuss that. I think that's like a really good innovation for this show. And I think it's a sign that the show is just going to keep trying new kind of technological things that will increase production values. I think there's stuff to be, like we moved the plot along, like we didn't hold off this Oscar reunion until later in the season. That's a good sign. We just got it right away. Like Oscar's back with the group now, or not back, but Osmond, I guess. Even though it's going to be a continued source of frustration that Team RWBY separated, indications are not good that they will reunite anytime soon. The only evidence that they will even reunite this season is that they're together in the intro. But that's the intro isn't real, so it may not even happen.
I mean, Blake hasn't even left her house yet.
Right.
I mean, plot-wise, they're all, well, except for Blake, they're all moving in the same direction. Like, they're all going to the Bronwyn tribe, but I don't know what the heck Blake's doing. So Yang is not headed in the direction of RWBY right now, but RWBY might be headed in Yang's direction, and Weiss is headed towards RWBY, but RWBY might go, and Blake is the only one who's stagnant. Yeah, that's true. That being said, we'll see, because one of our number one critique of last season was that one of the best things about the show is the dynamics between Team RWBY, and we just had an entire season without RWBY together, and it made things really stale on the show. And I think that will likely continue into this season, although I don't think this episode, unlike a lot of others last season, really suffered from the lack of Team RWBY together. I think there's enough going on and enough interesting character elements that it was fine that they were not together. But my patience will not hold long on this season. We'll see. So rare positive remarks all around on Welcome to Haven. Let's get into specific things in this episode. I don't know. I think either the number one thing is either Oscar at the end or the exposition chunk and the Spring Maiden. Spring Maiden. Spring Maiden.
So, what do we want to get into first? What are we more excited by, Spring Maiden or Oscar?
Excited is a strong word.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I have more to say about the Lionheart discussion, I guess, is if that's what you want, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, yeah, that is the thing that took up the most time in this episode. So let's start with Lionheart, Spring Maiden, Crow, all of them in Lionheart's office. So I agree with Delaney. It was kind of hard to remember exactly what happened going in. Not that I'm advocating for this, but it might have been helpful to have it previously on. I went back and watched the second half of the last finale, but you have to remember that Dr. Watts is controlling Lionheart, or he's Lionheart's an informant for Watts. You barely even remember who Watts is. It's just one of Cinder's henchmen. Yeah. So that was maybe that's a surprise if that wasn't remembered throughout that discussion.
Oh yeah, I definitely didn't remember.
Yeah. So that's what the W was, and we'll see if Dr. Watts plays into the season. But so Crow says that, I mean, there's a lot of checking in, Mistral's in chaos, Mistral's at odds with Atlas. That was kind of a running theme through last season, the Atlas conflict, and it doesn't really pay off at all other than this, though, in the episode. Really, what we focus on is the Spring Maiden, and we learn that maidens are the only ones that can reach the chamber that each relic is locked in. The Winter Maiden can get the Relic of Creation, the Summer Maiden, the Relic of Destruction, Fall is Choice, Spring is Knowledge. So,
I wonder which of our characters will be who.
Well, yeah. It's not clear to me what's going on in terms of anything, but I really appreciated this development because we randomly introduced relics last season after randomly introducing maidens the season before, and that was very infuriating, but we tie the two together here. That's exciting for me. We didn't add something new. We just tied elements together. Did you like that, Delaney?
I did. I mean, it was nice, just to find, okay, these things are all related, and there's a reason. It's interesting, I don't know, I guess I was just are they all just running around? It's just very confusing at this point about because we just randomly bring them up, and it's I don't it's just really confusing. But I am glad that we tied this together. Also, now that they have established that the different maidens represent different things, I am even more convinced that all of our characters will become maidens.
Yeah, it's so unclear to me what, like, where the other maidens are, like, what's the future with any of them.
But that's my problem with all this. Like, the more we talk about the maidens, the more I need to ask, why does no one else in the world know about the maidens? It doesn't make any
kept
sense.
Secret.
Yeah.
It's a secret.
But why? Why is it kept secret?
Because the world would. I think they said the world would freak out if they knew, right?
But I mean, that makes no sense to me. If they like, it's like why they. It appears to be that most of these maidens have been like heroes or whatever. Why would they freak out to know that there's this powerful hero protecting them?
Also, like, they need to protect them too, because I guess because of the way the mythology is structured, that when they pass it on to the last person they see, right?
Right, most people could just kill them.
So you can just kill them.
That's they're thinking of.
Yes,
the last person they're thinking of.
Last, like, female that they're thinking of.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a really easy way to that's a terrible mechanism to base your magic on.
Also, that would be a really great mechanism to make them gay. Thoughts.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that when we talk about the Spring Maiden, because at least we tied them together. I think you just have to accept base level. This is what's happening. But Andrew,
I accept it. It's just, it feels a little loose sometimes.
Yeah. Well, obviously it's loose, but it's we have very little explained here. But I do like we're tying them to the relics, and I guess we're going after this relic of knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is. So we know that Ozpin's cane is a relic. Is that confirmed? I don't even remember, to be honest.
I don't think so, but again, a lot has happened.
Yeah, I'm not. I apologize if we misrepresent things. But so yeah, that might be a thing we need the Spring Maiden to open the relic of knowledge, wherever that is stored. So yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it, but I like that they're tied in together. We learn that the Spring Maiden is in play this season. She ran away a decade ago. She was picked up by the Bronwyn tribe, and Raven has her. So,
yes.
Yeah. And Crow has the location of the Raven tribe. Even though Crow and Raven met last season, I don't know. And they're siblings, and, I feel like we should have known this a while ago, but whatever.
Yeah, no, it's really weird. Like, a lot of it does. It's just like, okay. I mean, I'm glad, like, this is what we're telling everybody. We're all going to end up fighting Raven. Okay, that's fine. It's just like, we took a long, winding road to get here.
Yeah. Can we check in on the other maiden? So the Fall Maiden we know was Amber, and that was and Cinder took her powers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the other ones we don't know about.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
So in theory, they just all exist at once. Which we did.
Yes.
That's the impression this episode gives. I didn't even know that.
You thought like it was one person that changed with the seasons,
right?
Or something?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think the show gave any indication before that the others were alive. So
that's interesting. I was always under the impression that there was 4, but I don't blame. I can get how you got there from what the show has shown us.
Yeah. So I guess the others are hiding somewhere. I do think there's a decent chance that they recur into our heroines, but I don't think the show really has given indication of that yet. We'll see. Anyway, this Spring Maiden. So we don't see the Spring Maiden here, but the intro later, we do get a shot of probably who the Spring Maiden is. There's Cinder next to a new blue-eyed, kind of punk-looking girl, and
she's got tats.
Yeah, she is. Is it like a bird, a symbol of the tribe? I don't know. But yeah, so she probably is the Spring Maiden, is theorizing. All the fans are theorizing. Delaney, what do you think of going after the Spring Maiden, this concept, and also this first shot we see of her?
Well, I think this, like, first shot, like, she looks really cool, and it'll be interesting to, like, interact with her. I think, like, I understand, like, we need to rescue her, but then I'm also like, she's part of the tribe now. Like, maybe what if you kill her on accident? Like, what are you doing? So
yeah, it seems like
I don't know about the strategy here.
It seems like they think she wants to be there, right? Like that she's just been indoctrinated into the tribe.
Yeah, I just don't. That's the other thing too, is like this whole idea of the bandits. Like, I understand we have like these kingdoms, but I'm still like, why are there bandits? Like, what is your purpose? Like, what do you do?
I view them less as bandits and more as like quote unquote revolutionaries or rebels. Like they just disagree with the overall nation they live in. That's more, I think, the word they're looking for is, rather than bandit, because it looks like they have like actual structures and stuff in this bandit camp.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. Like, I understand, like, what a bandit is. But, like, in terms of this show, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
That's what I mean. I just don't think they're actually bandits. That's why I
Right.
think it
So
doesn't
it
make
could
sense.
just be propaganda by the nations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
probably.
I mean, I don't think the show's given indication of that yet, but we do get this like societal structure, and there's like elements of propaganda in the RWBY universe. I buy that at least, but we'll see what the Raven tribe is. Yeah, maybe we'll get into like Raven isn't actually bad type of plotline.
Please, please.
I guess.
I just want my child Yang to be happy.
Yeah, well, what would make Yang happier? Is it?
Yeah, honestly.
Is it? I don't know, because so Yang's headed there. We'll see how that goes. But I don't know. Andy, thoughts on the Spring Maiden being with Raven?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't have a lot of opinions on it. 'Cause I'd like to see what her actual attitude and personality is, because this is just one picture of her, and maybe she's just mad in this picture because she's talking to Cinder, but maybe we'll see more and she's actually like a bubbly personality. I don't know. These intros always are really disingenuous, I think, to what actually happens.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they're not real shots.
Yeah, so I'm not really basing a lot on this. Her character design is fine. She looks really punkish, and I like that.
Yeah, Delaney?
It'll be interesting, like, we've seen Raven and, like, interact with Crow, and, like, seeing, like, more of that, I guess, like, who Raven is, and, like, are they just, like, the saddest siblings? I just, like...
Yeah, I definitely have questions about like how they grew up and why it has turned out this way. I feel like we've gotten into it a little bit in the show before, but that might be interesting to get into more. Definitely forgot.
Also,
yeah, Andy.
Also, question: how does John know that Raven is Yang's mother? Is that like
because he had to ask to reorient the audience, and John is the voice of the audience. That's
like,
why.
Like it feels weird for him.
I mean, I don't know. He's been
all.
around. He picks up on things. Sure.
No, he doesn't.
I feel like it would be better if RWBY asked that question. Sorry.
Well, RWBY's not. We had to get in the requisite John dialogue in this episode. So, yeah. So that's where we're going.
That should have been another preface. Like, me and Dylan hate John.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how much he's in this season. Probably a lot, but at least there's not a lot to talk about in this one. Other than that, I can't even remember what he said in the episode.
Which is good.
Yeah, good. RWBY also didn't have a lot. RWBY said something about comic books, and
yes,
as like, since when does RWBY read comic books? Has that been established? And other than that, I don't remember.
But it felt like she was there. Like they used her presence a lot better than the last season, even if she wasn't talking much.
She did seem, because Oscar asked for her, and stuff like that. Yeah, so I don't know. It would have been nice to see more. I'm still definitely would have liked more RWBY in this episode, but it was fine. So yeah, that's the Spring Maiden check-in. Looks like that's going to be a plot element this season. Kind of makes sense if like each of these seasons in this giant 13 season arc is going after like one of the maidens, and then we can maybe move on eventually. But so we'll see what we do with the Spring Maiden. Raven has her. Let's get into the Oscar stuff. That was actual plot movement in the episode. So first, very confusingly, we get the actual Volume 4 post-credit scene just blatantly in the episode. They just repeated it.
I didn't even notice because
I recognized the scene. I just wasn't sure from where. And now you've mentioned it, I'm like, that is really weird.
I did not at first remember that we'd seen this scene already, but this is the scene with Oscar approaching Crow at the bar. Exactly is just what we saw at the end of last season.
Right.
So this further confuses me as to the canonness of RWBY post-credit scenes, because the infamous Volume 2 post-credit scene that made no sense.
Yes.
And then here, it's obviously is what happened, but it wasn't on the right timeline. So I don't know what's happening. And the Volume 3, I guess, was Crow turning into Crow, which turned out true, right?
Yeah.
Did we confirm that that's...
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we did.
Yeah. So
I think it's unclear still.
Yeah.
But he kind of did it off screen, I think, a couple times.
Okay. Yeah. So, whatever. So Oscar approaches Crow. Crow immediately knows it's Ozpin, because he asked for his cane, I guess. And then Oscar goes... I feel like Crow should have more of a security check than...
Summarily, he gets drunk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
because of course that's a thing.
Typical Crow. kind of annoyed that continued character trait of him, that being like the only thing he ever does. But
But I do think they did better with the joking about it at the end. It seemed. I don't know. I don't usually like him being drunk, but I think the ending scene was a little funnier than it normally is when they do this kind of stuff.
At least they like treated it as like inappropriate behavior for the situation.
Yeah.
As opposed to like it's not that, you know, him drinking is inherently a problem, but he's around a bunch of kids and is the one that should be taking responsibility here. So I'm glad at least we addressed that. Oscar comes home with Drunk Crow, and it's like it's Ozpin.
It feels very Avatar, like, you know, like when they're embossing, say.
Yes. Well, Delaney, the season I've read is very much based on Bossing Say in Avatar. The Mistral City. Yeah.
It's almost as if the whole show.
Well, this whole show is based on Avatar, but specifically, I think Miles in the interview said that Mistral, the city, is based off of Bossing Say. Crow mentions in the beginning that the higher up you go in the city, the higher like caste you're in.
Like the rings.
Yeah, so it's directly based on the Bossing Say rings. Yeah, I agree. This feels like they're at the Earth Kingdom house. Yeah, there, the one that like Toph punches the wall through or something.
Yeah.
So, I like that dynamic. But we have the RWBY and Oscar introduction. Oscar says, "You have silver eyes" to RWBY.
You didn't say it. You have silver eyes.
Yeah.
Like, let's be really creepy about it.
Yeah.
As if Ozpin has never seen her eyes before.
Well, I mean, I think that's Oscar talking, not Ozpin, but yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I don't think Ozpin can directly talk to Oscar. He just has to like whisper in his head. I think that's what we've established.
That's fair. Yeah, well, he's like, shh.
Yeah. So, what do we think of this tension-filled Oscar and RWBY reunion or meeting? Is this the beginning of the ship? We've talked about this before, Delaney.
Oh God.
No, okay, Oscar is RWBY's little brother. That's what I've decided.
Okay.
And yeah.
There's this fan comic of Oscar and RWBY meeting, and Oscar says, "You have silver eyes," and I don't know how, and RWBY responds, "You have avocado eyes," but I don't know why. I don't know why that they did. Like, was that based on anything? Like, why did they just do that fan comic? Like, is the thing that happened?
Avocado eyes.
But it's, oh my God, yeah.
That's incredible.
I don't know.
Is that what you were waiting for, Dylan? That's what you expected to happen?
It's what I just keep seeing people posting this, and it literally happened in the show with Oscar asking, "You have silver eyes." So I don't know what the point of him asking that is.
Chip went like cray.
Like, I assume it has a plot relevance.
Well, her silver eyes is like why she went like Super Saiyan.
Well, yeah, I get the silver eyes have an actual, but like, why does Oscar that a meaning to Oscar him?
Doesn't he like know things? I don't know.
It's not clear.
I think he was mentioning it to try to prove to the kids that he was Ozpin, maybe, because they might not trust Drunk Crow. I don't know.
I didn't get that impression, but it's possible that that's what they're going for. I don't know. Anyway, we'll be tracking if the show attempts to do RWBY and Oscar. If they do, we're gonna be very mad, basically.
Yes. Also, John put his hand on Ruby's shoulder for a really long time.
I know, it was awful.
Did not
oh my God.
Yeah, at least they didn't focus on that, but
I've been waiting
he did.
For the podcast to yell about it.
So we're tracking the which infuriating RWBY and male ship will they do? RWBY and John or RWBY and Oscar?
If RWBY and Oscar won't make me want to literally like pop my head off my shoulders at least.
No, I'd still be very, very bad.
I mean, I'd be mad. Not RWBY and John levels, man.
Yeah, we still need to establish how old Oscar is, because did we? Wait, it might have last season.
No. Maybe.
I think because I feel like he's too young for RWBY. Anyway, RWBY's like 16 now, so
RWBY's too young for RWBY.
Yeah. We'll track that as we go on. But yeah, I enjoyed that we did not put off the Oscar with the team thing here. So that's not going to be all season. Oscar's there.
Just explain it next week, please.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, explain more things. But also, Oscar, he also like Oscar means Ozpin is there. So I think that maybe Ozpin can explain things to us now and not have us just do nothing because Crow is like incompetent. So I think that'll be helpful.
But that means we have more explaining scenes, and I am kind of done with them now. We had a good one this episode. Can we just get to the fighting and the getting RWBY together now?
No more exposition, but
I just need to know why Ozpin is Oscar. Just after that, I don't care anymore. I just need to know.
Yeah, I agree. Let's establish the Ozpin regeneration.
He finds someone with his name starts with Oz, and that's it.
Yeah, that's how that works. Okay, so yeah, well, maybe we'll get into that. Although I doubt it. So as mentioned, we finally arrive at Mistral in the beginning of this episode, and we go to Haven. Within Mistral, Crow. By the way, Crow is fine. Not that I remembered that from last season, because I think that happened very quickly at the end. But yeah, Crow is dying, and now he's fine.
Yep.
And they joked about it. They're like, yeah.
Only one of us almost died.
Yep. So didn't enjoy that, but he's not. I mean, Crow can live. Like, that's fine. But like, this was very fast.
It just felt, that was the thing. That's this episode just felt very sudden.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
It did. Yeah, and I appreciated that we continued right after, seemingly, but and that we did things fast. But yeah, I guess at least it happened in between seasons and not like between episodes. Whatever. Crow's fine. We're introduced to Mistral. As we said, they do this new snapshot device. This is very reminiscent to me of this new thing Studio Mir is doing. Voltron, at least once a season, has this thing where they just show pictures instead of, and they animate it a little bit, but and they also, this is just a new Studio Mir thing because they also did this on Lego Elves. I don't like it for Studio Mir just because their animation is so good, but why I enjoyed it for RWBY is because it allowed for a lot more detailed shots. We had like some really well-drawn background characters, and that's always been a thing with the show. We went from literal shadows in the beginning to now we have like detailed portraits of them in these snapshots. Like, I don't think this is a device you want to use all the time. But I think this is like the right time to do it, orienting us to a new city. And also we just spent a minute on the Welcome to Mistral package. So like, that was fine. Like, just show us some snapshots, and there's another thing that went along with these snapshots. But, yeah, why didn't you like it, Andy?
I want to be clear. I think this device can be used well. I just think that this was the wrong way to use it in the situation. I didn't really get the scale for this city, and I really wish they used these portrait shots to at least give us an idea of the structure of the city and not like little market scenes. Yeah. That's really what I was upset about.
Yeah, that's true, because like we get a sense from that, like you go up, like from what Crow says, but I didn't see that at all happening in the episode. I
don't understand the structure, and I'd really appreciate knowing that, but like these portraits just don't help at all. Also in these portraits, as the RWBY fandom pointed out,
we'll get to that in a second. But okay, Delaney, what'd you think of the snapshots?
Well, I thought they felt really weird. Like, to me, it felt out of place in RWBY, which, like, again, like the production quality and like the animation is like incredible. Like, going from watching Volume 1 to now, it's incredible. And like, I remember like when the opening scene of like them in the tunnel, I was like, that's a really nice looking brick. Like, wow, y'all, that looks really good. And then like, I just didn't like it. Like, it just felt weird to me. Like, I didn't understand at first. I was like, why are they not moving? Like, I was just really weirded out. I mean, I understand why you would do it, and I do think like it's great for. I mean, I like when they try to do different things, and like the, especially because RWBY itself can get very stale, and it's nice when they like throw different things in there, and they're always doing better with like their directing and their like how the show looks. But it just felt weird to me. Like I was just like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's definitely like a device that doesn't really make any sense in the context of like moving animation. So like that's why I don't like it in Voltron. Your show's already gorgeous. You don't need these shots. Why I liked it here for RWBY is because this actually like improved the visuals of what we would have been seeing otherwise, orienting us to Mistral. And I also do just like trying new things with RWBY and just springing some more life into the show. So, I'm interested to see if they do more devices like this, if they try this again. In general, though, I think the more important thing is that this is, again, one of, if not again, the most, well animated episodes that the show's done. So they continue to have really great production quality.
It was very pretty.
Yeah. And, okay, so as mentioned, in these shots, so, we did our, Miles Carey and the crew did their annual Tumblr, ask session, this year. And last year they really failed with they always get asked, when are there going to be non-straight people on the show? And last year they got asked that, and they just really had a horrible answer. It was just kind of like offensive. This year they're asked that again, and they learned their lesson. They just said, yep, it's coming. So, better answer, but we're very skeptical. But here in one of these snapshots, we see a male couple. Very obvious. They're like holding a thing that's a heart. They have like one has their arm around the other. So it happens. We have in a literal one painting background shot, we see a gay couple, Delaney.
I didn't see them. I'm so shook.
Yeah. What do you think now hearing that?
I always see the gay. What happened? Like, I dropped the ball. If this is what they mean, I am literally going to teleport and kick them in the face. Like,
literally teleport? Wow, that's impressive.
I will literally teleport. I will pop out of existence and pop back into existence and kick them in the face. Like, this was great. This happened on Star.
Yes.
And that was amazing. Because that's also different because, like, that was also kind of a mirror to, like, the straight romance that was going on, like, in the show. And, like, I also have a slightly more confidence in Star versus the Forces of Evil of actually doing it. The thing is, Rooster Teeth has no excuse. Like, Star can be like, it's Disney, and it's like, okay. But, like, come on. Like, we're on volume 5, and we have these gorgeous, awesome, really close female characters, and, like, you just keep inserting these stupid male characters, and it's like, stop it.
Yeah, so Star did a male kiss in the background of one of their episodes, and it was moving, and it was like on screen for maybe slightly longer than this. Although this stayed on for a few seconds. But I mean, we don't need to get into the Disney excuse versus Rooster Teeth excuse. Rooster Teeth has advertisers and stuff too, but I agree they should have less of an excuse. They're also the ones producing their own show. Andy,
not to excuse Disney for the record.
Yeah, and Andy, what do you think of this?
I agree with everything Delaney said, but I also want to say that I think that another part to think about with the Star versus RWBY thing is that Star has a structure of like Marco and Star, and that's kind of it. And it makes quote unquote sense that they'd be pushing for that romance and like they're cute together. But this show, it's about 4 women.
I know.
It's like that's what's frustrating about this. The show is all about women. That's what Monty made it for. We have this is not an attack against Miles and Carrie. This is just how it is. It's RWBY, Weiss, Blake, and Yang. None of them are gay. Okay, well then we have Nora and we have Pyrrha and like I could go on and on and on and on and on, and none of them are gay. And it makes no sense. It just doesn't. And they just keep introducing John and Oscar, and we think it's more likely that they're going to be together than any of the gay ships, and that's just doesn't seem possible, but it is, and they don't do it every single season.
Yeah, so
it's really frustrating.
Okay, so if you just take this in a vacuum, I think it's great that they put this the 2 males together on this snapshot, and they like clearly displayed romance between the two, and I think it was a great inclusion in the episode, and I do think they should be applauded for this. Like, this is a great step forward, and like this is without any context of their previous, like the context of expectations of the series or their previous comments, like I think that this is just a great action. So I really,
in context, it's rude.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's
like in context, it's almost taunting. Like, in all honesty.
Yeah. Right. So you can definitely make the case that they're clearly queer baiting based on their previous comments, right? And
like, I am like, if they do, like, I mean, if it's maybe this season or like whatever, sure, that'd be awesome. But like, I mean, it's just getting to the point where it's like, is it going to happen?
Yeah, I'm always
like, I'm fully convinced it's not going to happen. Even this inserted scene that I didn't even notice, and I always see the gay. Like,
yeah, I think that I want to say that it's not this scene's, like, the problems are not about the scene. It's just about the context of the show itself. Right.
No, it's the context. Right. Like this is awesome. Like you said, in a vacuum, this is incredible, and this is a great step forward for the show. But in context, it's like, really?
Yeah. I always don't like arguments that are like a small step forward, and it's like that's like an active negative. I feel like you were just like misplacing the frustrations, but yeah, it is like I definitely have zero confidence that we're gonna actually see any of the main characters with feelings or romance towards another character just in a non-straight situation. So it's like it would be great to actually see anything displayed on the show. Like their previous comments were the characters don't need to, like, there are gay characters or a character, but we just don't need to show it, basically, is what they said. And like that was always terrible. So we're like moving ahead, we're actually showing something. It's like, let's give it at least a few weeks. I don't know, like maybe this is a sign of a new era, but yeah, it is just very frustrating that the show seemingly has no intentions of doing this on a wider scale. Especially
considering like what Andy was saying is that, like, in Star, like we have like there's always been this undercurrent of like Starco. There aren't really like there never really was like a lot of romance or focus in RWBY, and then we had Jean and Pyrrha, and then we just there's Neptune and like all this and like Sun, and I hate him, and like they like just let's just throw like all these characters in there and like start stuff when like there isn't a reason to, and then it also like it just feels awkward in general.
Right. So the argument would be that other shows have straight couples as part of like their DNA, and this show doesn't, but it inserts these straight couples after, while not also inserting the gay couples. And I guess the counter argument is that there's no expectations of romance at all, and I feel like the abnormalities are the straight ones that they've done. But yeah, it's definitely frustrating, and like I think that the most frequent comment you'll hear from people who don't like us talking about this type of thing is like you're just like pushing for your ships to happen, and it's not about the ships happening, it's about just any sort of representation anywhere on the show. It doesn't really matter where it's coming from as long as it's from a prominent place on the show. Like
the thing, like it's not just like there's the it's like there's a spectrum of like female to female interaction going from platonic to romantic, and like this idea, like it's the lesbian continuum, and like this idea that like you have this show with prominent female characters, and like they have a lot like their friendships, like their interactions with each other, and then literally we blow up the team and they're not together for a season, and you're actually unraveling the DNA of the show. And like why I personally watch it, and I know Dylan also watches it because we like the characters all together, and then to separate them and to further keep like come on, like it's ridiculous, and like it just doesn't it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like there has to come on, like this isn't like. And, if you're like, oh, there aren't that many gays, but, like, shut up, one. And then, like, come on. Like, are you serious? Like, it's just so painfully obvious that it's not there, and it should be. And it's just awful.
Right. And it's also just in the context of the people making it, and we know their previous comments on things like Korosami, and it's frustrating that the people writing the show seemingly are not having an interest in doing anything like this and don't care. I do think that, by the way, we talk negatively about Miles and Caroline. I do think that they are generally progressive people, and are they're not, compared to people who comment on the show, you'd be surprised. Like this is like these guys, I do think that there's a chance that they would have an interest in doing something like this. I hope that they've gotten a push and would approach it at some point this season. And it doesn't matter what specific ship. Like, I think that, I personally ship White Rose the most. Bumblebee, I think, makes the most sense for the series to do. And I think that they've just been doing it since the beginning. And, it's like we're pursuing Blake and Sun, and we're pursuing Neptune and Weiss, and John and Nora, or John and, Pyrrha. And, but we have no interest in, Blake and Yang. So, we'll see what we're doing. The one thing to say is that this show clearly has a long-term perspective on things. It is possible that we are holding back the Bumblebee for later seasons because they're not thinking of this as season 5. They're thinking of this as season 5 of 13, right? So it's still maybe early in the show's run. Okay. Anyway, we'll see. So there's our 10-minute long progressive discussion that'll infuriate a lot of people. Great. Okay. We haven't yet talked about the check-ins on our other characters. So Weiss is on a cargo ship on her way to.
I got excited. I didn't think we were going to see her on the ship.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
On her way to Mistral. Yeah. So this is where RWBY is, and Weiss is there, and seemingly should not take that long to get there. Yeah.
Expect like 5 episodes of her on that ship for no reason. Then.
Yep.
So then they get a distress call and they ignore it. So what I've heard, and I don't know, I sorry for not being 100% informed, fandom, is that the ship will get shot down by potentially Raven's tribe.
Interesting.
They are over that area. I don't know if that's speculation or based on something, but yeah. So I thought they were being attacked by Grimm. Who is?
The ship, the distress signal thing she's talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it may or may be unrelated to the call, so the distress. But so it's it's that if that happens, then at least that they're not just on the ship for a while, and there's movement towards all the characters being together. Like that is where Yang is going, and potentially RWBY.
Also, this pilot is not interesting. Like, I don't care.
It's like, just give me my money. Yep. Good character. Okay. So that's where Weiss is. Blake is in Menagerie. We briefly see her dad, her mom, and son. They're mad at stuff that I don't remember that happened last season. And then, Ilya comes down, and, Ilya apparently took the fall for Corsic and Finnick, and, they have like the scroll of evidence, and, Blake plans on presenting this to everyone in Menagerie to turn them against the White Fang in Menagerie. But Ilya says, not gonna work, you should leave Menagerie, Blake. I agree, Ilya.
Yeah, no, I'm like, Blake, it's not gonna, like, go away.
And leave, son. Just go.
Yeah,
you
leave
go.
him.
He's having fun with your parents. Yeah, he can stay.
Yeah, just leave him.
Yeah, I was excited for more Ilya here, although I don't think she's particularly interesting in the scene. This, at least we have movement here, right? I think that things are happening, and I don't think Blake's just staying on Menagerie for the whole season. I think that, I think clearly this conflict needs to come to a head in order for...
Also, the White Fang stuff is just, like, frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, it's been stale for a while, and it's just like, what are we doing with it? And, like, they're, like,
Yeah, we've just been in this constant state of the White Fang is evil everywhere, despite the fact that apparently they're not. So, like, we just see no evidence that they're not evil.
Right.
But, yeah, so that needs to boil over in order for the Mistral attack to happen. So I think that something's going to happen here. I don't know, whatever. I enjoyed checking in on Blake and Ellie. I don't have a lot to say about this part. Andy, thoughts?
Like, I was just like, Blake,
Yeah.
Blake's here, Blake. Like, that's
Yeah. I don't have a lot to say about the Blake stuff. I have more to say about the Yang
Yeah,
stuff.
me
I
too.
mean, we did see a little bit of Ilya at the in the intro. We saw Ilya. She has like a kind of like a chameleon's tongue, like it shoots out over and over again. It was kind of cool looking.
Yeah, she's also in the Blake character short. Really, the Blake character short's about Ilya and not
short.
Blake. Yeah, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah, Delaney, what are your Blake's your fave. What are your hopes and dreams this season with Blake?
Okay, Bumblebee number one. Okay, Blake doing awesome, cool things. She like kicks Sun in the face, and like, I just want Blake to be around and doing cool things. Yeah, I just love Blake, and I just want her to be everywhere.
Yep, more. Yeah, so we'll see. She did.
Need more
She
Blake.
was, I think, on the screen the most out of all of the. I guess Yang was also there for a while out of the three of them, but. Yeah, we'll see what we're doing with Blake here. Yang, goes up to like a gas station bar.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that. Like, okay.
Interesting. And, she gets a water and, this guy is like hitting on her.
I don't think she's too young to drink.
I think she's like 18, which is too young in some places.
In America, but clearly wouldn't be in the RWBY world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that they probably aged a year, and Yang's 18 at this point. I agree. The gets just like punches the creep with her semblance powers, which didn't make a lot of sense to me given what we've learned about her semblance. But and he just bounces around the room, and then we learn that Yang is looking for Raven.
Dun dun dun.
What was your thoughts on the Yang stuff, Delaney?
I wanted her to punch the creep sooner because he was making me physically uncomfortable. And then I think it should have caved his face in. Like, that looked like that hurt. And then the fact that at the end he's like, I heard, like, shut up. Like, go away. Just run him up.
Might be on screen again next episode because.
Okay, I'm really frustrated. Like, so RWBY is with Jean and Rin, and it's like, whatever, fine, and Crow. But then, like, Weiss has to be a male pilot, and then Blake has to be with Sun, and then now we have this random gross dude that apparently has to be with Yang for at least another episode.
Yeah, and Yang was with Tai Yang before. I agree, and Blake was with her dad before. Yeah, the show. Yeah, I agree. The show separated the four female leads, and then just had them all have like a male chaperone.
And it's frustrating, and it's stupid. Like, it's so stupid.
It just happened like, it's like if it happened to like one of them, it'd be like, okay. But it was like literally all of them that happened.
Yeah, no, and it's infuriating. And like, Yang doesn't need this dude. Like, Go away.
Yeah, so let me give, let me give my, this is my least favorite scene in the episode. By a lot. I think the episode is, like, fine, and then this Yang scene is terrible, in my opinion. And the reason is because we are, like, I've always had an issue with the characterization of Yang, just from, like, a show's perspective. I feel like this is the most blatant example of the show, like, sexualizing and fetishizing Yang. And it's just really creepy. Like, yes, it's supposed to be a creepy guy doing that, but just why? Why do we need to see this? Like, this is the most prominent aspect of Yang that the first episode of the season we're checking in on, know that she's, like, hot. Like, that's what we need to display here from her.
It's like, she could have just been climbing on the motorcycle. Like, that's it. That's all we needed to have.
This is just such a male vantage point written scene. It's so blatant.
Like 100%.
Like, this is not an interesting aspect of Yang. Like,
no. She's looking for her mom, and this is what they focus on.
I've always thought that the show just, like, blatantly fetishizes her with her outfits and stuff, and, like, this is just it's so much more blatant than it's been before.
And it's even worse because they go from her being hot to her having PTSD. So her being hot is more important than the fact that she still has some issues to deal with, and it's really annoying.
I just don't understand why this is an aspect of her character you need to display in this scene, in this episode. I don't know. Like, Yang's a lot of people's favorites, and I'm always like, cool. Like she's a cool character. It's just, I'm always just like, she's cool, but she's written in this kind of, like, fetishy way by these guys, and that's why I've always not super connected with her, and I've always been afraid to say it because it's not real. There hasn't been a lot of evidence there, but okay, thank you, show. Now I have evidence to make this claim. So take the scene out in this episode. And also,
it's just like, it's even like these characters, like, we've established, like, they're very young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yang's clearly, like, seen as a child too by people.
Yeah, and it's awful. Yeah. Like, stop it.
I think they have this problem to a much lesser extent with Weiss, and they're fine. They do a good job with RWBY and not doing anything with her, but yeah.
And they do it with Blake too, like with her new outfit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, all the outfits are even RWBY, but yeah, it's it's just the show's always done it this Yang, and I think take the scene out in this episode is, like, actively good, and with this scene, I think it's, like, whatever. Basically, is my opinion. Just very frustrating there. And about her so she goes red eyes, and I think last season, and believe me, I'm not the semblance expert. Last season, people in the comments are. Last season we learned that, Yang's semblance (?) is that the more she gets hit, the more she can hit back, basically. Like,
yes. Right.
So she is not hit before this, and yet she lashes out very hard at him. So maybe this is just not a strong punch from her. I don't know, but he bounces around the room.
I think my understanding of it is that she's been really infallible. She's been really confident before now. And I think that there's part of her semblance that if she gets hurt, like, emotionally or mentally, also triggers it. I have a feeling. But that's just
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, now that she's beaten down, her semblance is activated.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't like that, but it's could be what's going
that might be
on.
What they're going for. So, yes.
Can I say something about Yang? Because I still have something I'm upset about with Yang. Okay, so not upset about, but frustrated with, because at the end of season 4, she was on her motorcycle, and she stopped to think, and I'm like, she's going to see Raven. She's definitely going to see Raven, and that's what we see here. But I think that this is a retcon. I'm, like, really convinced that they just retcon this because that article that came out right before this season, how they're trying to get all of Team RWBY together this season, and, like, it's their fault that they're apart and they're really frustrated they're not together. And I think they just went, well, let's just have all of them go to Raven because that's a place we can have them go, really, whatever. And that's what this feels like.
So you don't think they intended her to be on her way to Raven last season?
No.
I think we talked about that she was going to RWBY, right? I think.
Yeah. No. I think she's going. I think she was supposed to be going to RWBY because at the end when she took her turn, she made a comment that sounded like "I'm coming, sis" or something like that. And it's like, did they just change that so that they could get them together quicker? I'm fine with that, but it seems like pretty a blatant retcon if that's true.
Yeah, I think I agree. I didn't get the impression at the end of last season, and I do get the impression from interviews that. They've realized that people are frustrated with this and they intend to fix it a little bit. That Team RWBY's not together. Yeah.
Also, the Yang short seems to imply that she's going to RWBY because she's thinking about RWBY.
That's also true. Yeah, in the Yang shirt, which they also frustratingly did not release until the same time as episode 1. We're gonna podcast on all the shorts, but then they just held off the last one until the actual episode premiered. There's a flashback of her with RWBY, and then she's like thinking about that as she's driving. Whatever. Like, let's get them all together in the fight for Raven. Sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the only one who's not going to Raven at this point is Blake. So we'll see what happens there.
And I'm curious as to how that will like how is she tied to the White Fang? Maybe like how is Blake gonna get?
I mean, Blake is fighting the White Fang, so like it would make sense if like Blake has always been on a trajectory to go to Mistral at least. So we're still heading there. It is possible though that we have Team RWBY minus Blake. That is possible.
Yeah, I'd be literally fine if Blake just teleported. I'd literally be fine if she just appeared there somehow.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
It was never explained.
Yeah. I wouldn't complain. I'd be like, I'm fine with this.
Okay, and then the last thing, as mentioned, we had the new intro. I think the two most prominent things I think are the Spring Maiden and Team RWBY together at the end with like giant Salem. But what do we think of, more importantly, the song?
It's awesome. Like I was like, great, yes.
Yeah, it's called Carry On apparently, and for me, the RWBY intros always grow as I listen to them more. So for now, I'm like, okay, this isn't as good as the last ones. But that's what I said about the Volume 4, and now that's one of my favorites. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I really like this one.
Casey Williams she's getting so much better. I mean, she did Volume 1 when she was like 15, I think, the intro, and now she just sounds so much older, and there's a lot more to her voice, and it sounds really good.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the Volume 1 and 2 intros are still great, classic. So
no, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying it's very different. You can tell that it's kind of... Yeah.
So there you go on Welcome to Haven. Overall, we were somewhat positive about it. Thumbs up. Delaney, anything we can talk about or final comments?
I just get Team RWBY back together. That's all I want.
You gotta save that for like 3 episodes down the line, I think.
No, I'm just so tired. I'm so tired.
Okay. Already we're hoping for it. Andy, final comments.
I'm excited for like the most anime thing ever in the intro, which is Weiss is using her knight to throw herself while she's standing on its sword. It's like the most absurd thing ever, and I love it. I'm like, what are you doing, Weiss? Why are you standing on a sword out of a giant knight? But it's really funny. I like it.
Yeah, let's do more Weiss summoning. That'll be good.
Yes.
Yeah, I think she summoned again in her short too. That was a while ago though. That's sure.
I think so.
She summoned a sword arm at one. No. I think Winter summoned it to save Weiss.
Anyway, on the right track here with this season. I think the season's going to be 14 episodes too longer than normal. I think it's going to be largely defined by whether Team RWBY reunites in episode 7 versus like the finale of the season.
Right.
This is just another season of Team RWBY apart, and I do think they will meet by the end, but I do think it is in play that it's just the last episode, which is frustrating. So, it's clearly the show's possible of kind of interesting things without them together, and there are a lot of people who like the Ranger dynamic, and I don't think the Ranger dynamic needs to go away if you bring back Team RWBY. Like, they can all just kind of hang out, but it's just, the show's just been such lacking of the main thing that the series is based on, which is these 4 leads interacting. So hopefully sooner than later, and let's see where we go here. RWBY, Volume 5 will be back next week to talk about Episode 2. As always with Rooster Teeth, it is not going to be 100% clear that it's a new episode until it airs. So presumably...
we'll get a World of Remnant during one of these weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably like 4 or 5, like when we think those are airing. So that's it for this. Let us know what you thought. I do actively encourage comments, despite what I said in the beginning. Just be respectful, You're allowed to say you disagree with anything that we said. If you're listening on YouTube, you can comment there, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube to not miss any more RWBY. We'd appreciate iTunes reviews, especially positive ones, on a RWBY specific feed to counteract the negative ones, and search for RWBY Overly Animated. And you could also comment on our website, overlyanimated.com, click on the article that has the podcast on it, and then leave comments there. So actively encourage all of that. Also, we have a new Discord. If you want to text chat with us about RWBY, the RWBY channel is a little active. Steve is trying to put forth his theory that Neo is a robot, And
What?
I don't know. Neil was not in this episode, so I don't know why that's on his mind. But he that's what's going on in the Discord. Overlyanimated.com/Discord. So find all that there, and you can consider supporting us on Patreon. Patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Phonician, AK Fusion, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers John, Ryan, Steve, Alex, and Andy. A bunch of stuff happening at the Overly Animated podcast, including Voltron Legendary Defender coverage, continued Rick and Morty podcasts, bunch of stuff happening. Find that at overlyanimated.com for all of that. Subscribe to us, not miss any of it. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.